I don't have a voice. Let's see.
For those kinds of relations and that kind of engagement. I didn't talk about those parts. Now, I didn't know what to call it then, and it took me a long time to figure out what to call it now. And calling it incest now didn't come easy. Somebody mentioned it. I was on a phone conversation with somebody I'm close with, and I just talked to them and told them about how I feel God wants me to share my story. And so, because I explained why I felt my story is different, which is why I understand why God would want me to share my story, that person I was on the line with was like, yeah, because it's incest. Nobody talks about incest. And when she said it like that, I was like, dang, it is. Like, moving forward, pre-teen years, teenage years, early 20s, it was swept under the rug. So because it was swept under the rug, no one in my family talked about it. Everyone in my family, we all had a regular relationship. So even with my siblings, it was as normal as can be, There wasn't no awkward anything. Like, it was just a normal family after that. And so how I ended up resurfacing those feelings was when in 2016, that is when I like to say Christ found me, but I was definitely looking for hope. Honey. But I was definitely looking for hope at a moment, at a time. I mean, it was just early one morning, like it was about 7 a.m. I was coming off of a high, and I was about to get high all over again so that I can go into work. But something just pushed me to pick up a devotional Bible, and I did. And that was when I first found Christ for the first time ever. So being exposed to knowing that Jesus is actually really real, like, it's one thing to be raised Christian, know about God, know about Jesus, but to actually experience him for the very first time, I was determined to kind of just throw everything away and have a walk with something that I'm sure of. In a time of just being so unsure about what I was going to do with my financial situation at that time and the relationships that I had. And so once I tried focusing on my relationship with God, everything I feel like ran smooth until it didn't. Focusing on my relationship with God, it basically composed of me trying to let go of the addictions that I had. But once I realized I couldn't let go of masturbation, or I couldn't let go of just falling for the same no good guys, that's when I realized there's an issue with my sexuality. And that's when, things, thoughts, memories began to resurface to what has happened in my childhood. Looking back at the relationships that I've had, relationships with an S, I can tell it definitely still played a big role in my life, because honestly, I stayed with a boyfriend, okay? I had my very first boyfriend when I was 12 years old. And I had a boyfriend all the way up until I got married at 21 years old. And I say that in such a way where I wasn't breaking up with anybody, and I wasn't being broken up with without having another guy on deck. Now, as for my virginity, I righteously lost my virginity at 15 years old. And when I lost my virginity, the guy literally was like, "You don't feel like a virgin." And that put even more guilt and shame on me, because giving my virginity away, like actually giving it to somebody, a boyfriend for the very first time, I don't know how to explain those feelings, but I would like to say that's when a blanket of guilt and shame rested on me. Like, I just didn't have the experience that I heard most girls had. And I believe it was just robbed from me because of my sexuality. I was exposed to sex at a very young age. And because of that, my whole sex life has been distorted ever since. And honestly, I had been masturbating since as long as I can remember, since I was a child. Like, I have memories of masturbating in pre-K and all of that. So when I say as long as I can remember, I've been masturbating for a very long time. Who taught me? I don't know. But clearly I was exposed to sex at a young age. And so it was nothing to me. But for me, because sex was a very big part of my life, even at a very young age, that's something that I felt needed to stay a part of my life. So I was really promiscuous.
Okay. I can do this. I try to find the words to come on here and talk about my lived experiences in such a way that it can bring value to other women. I've had a lot of many different experiences in life as a single mom and as someone who is divorced, and as somebody who grew up with childhood trauma. The childhood trauma that I have here, that I played in this video was uploaded on YouTube 6 years ago, and I spoke about the childhood incest sexual abuse that I experienced either before, but most definitely at and by the age of 3 years old, by a sibling of mine who's 6 years older than me. And at that time, 6 years ago, I felt pressed to come on YouTube and just start talking about my experiences, and with the hope of kind of creating some kind of a community of other women who may have gone through that, and to just see that I'm not alone. A lot of times I feel alone. I feel alone because I can still see at age 33 the effects that experience as a child has had on my life, and I could still see just how it jacked me up. That experience, being exposed to sex at age 3 years old, jacked me up, and in every sense of that, okay? Like mentally, right? But you can't just go around talking about it on a random Wednesday with your homegirls, especially somebody who has not really experienced that. Like, they can empathize with you, yes, but, and I'm grateful for my friends who allow me the space to talk about it. It's just hard when it's not like I'm not dealing with that only on that one random Wednesday. I deal with that every day. And so I don't want to burden anybody talking about that every day. I've gone through 4 different therapists, you know, so I've had the space to talk about that often with therapists, right? And therapy has helped, and it does help in an amazing way. But then you get to a point where you realize that that type of trauma doesn't just go away. A lot of different traumas, we go through a healing process, but I'm pretty sure there's not just sexual traumas, but there's a lot of traumas that we go through where you don't just wake up one day and say, okay, I'm healed. People who have dealt with grief and loss of a loved one, I don't think they ever wake up one day and just, I'm perfectly fine. You know, like, that stuff, it stays with you. And a lot of the times the effects that it has on you, they linger. They may go away in seasons, but a lot of times triggers will bring them things right back. Right now I'm in a moment of experiencing trigger. The reason why is because I've been really wanting to find my voice. Like one of my resolutions this year, 2026, was to find my voice, right? I think a lot of us are in that season of wanting to find our voice, wanting to find that thing that we can talk about, be an expert in, you know? And so I look a lot into my spiritual life, because one thing I know for sure is that I'm saved. And so I look around that and how I can just talk about, you know, fasting, talk about stories of the Bible, how it applies to our lives, you know? But as I continue the journey of really trying to find my voice, and I seek God with that, and I'm praying and fasting about it, I get taken back to my childhood traumas. And that, while it is something that I've sought therapy for, I've gotten to a place where I don't want to dwell on that topic, because it is a hard thing. And so I don't want to make that my voice. I don't want to make that who I am, because like I said, it messes you up, and it's just a lot of things I don't want to revisit, a lot of memories I don't want to revisit, a lot of old habits. I've been diagnosed with sex addiction in 2019 because of these traumas. And so I don't want my topic of conversation to be sex. I'm trying to be celibate out here. I am celibate. I'm not going to say trying, because I'm 3.5 years in, so I'm celibate, right? But I look at how, yes, I've experienced childhood sexual incest abuse. And by the time the social workers, when DCF, when school teachers and whatnot found out, my parents' response was to lie about it, to protect my abuser, to protect my family's image, to protect my parents, or just, I don't know. I'm the youngest of the family, and the response was, I need to silence myself. So when I'm in this season where I'm trying to search for my voice, it got me thinking, when did I lose my voice? It's a valid question to ask. And obviously, that was a big impact on my voice, being silenced when it was necessary, when it was time to speak up about the abuse that was happening in my home. While finding these videos they've been on my YouTube. I've put them on private, because I felt called 6 years ago to come on YouTube and talk about my experiences. And I uploaded 2 videos. I unprivate one on my page. This one, I'm not ready to unprivate it. But I uploaded this 6 years ago, and the drama it caused in my personal life caused me to put it on private, caused me to, again, protect my family's image, to protect my abuser. It silenced me, again, 6 years ago. And so playing this back, I was in a lot of tears, because how, if you see in the video, I came on here and I was talking, like smiling and talking and ready to tell my story. And I'm just thinking about all the weeks that happened following that, and how it shut me down again for another 6 years. And I'm so tired of living in silence. I'm so tired of having to be quiet. Like, I'm so tired of being the dust that has been swept under the rug for my abuser's sake, for my family's sake. I cannot live my life. I've been wanting to live my life. Like, I look at women and men who live freely as themselves, and I admire it so much, because I want to do the same thing. And I just look back at the things that silenced me, the things that has been keeping me silent. And I no longer want to do that anymore. And I know that I always knew that finding my voice, oh my God, prepare to be sick of me. The people not gonna like it. I always knew that finding my voice, y'all gonna hate me. I'm 33, I'll be 34 in a few more months, and I don't think I want to care about living my life based off the opinions and cares of others anymore. One of the things that is hard is calling it incest abuse. Calling it incest abuse was a hard realization because it points to a willingness to participate in these things. And that willingness points to being like being of age and willing, right? But realizing that I was all of 3 years old, 4 years old, 5 years old, 6 years old, and calling that incest, calling that will, is just crazy to me. The grooming that took place, it is, and that's just what makes all of this difficult. Like, still finding the words, even at this age, still trying to find the words to explain what happened to me 30 years ago. Trying to find the words to explain, or trying to put it in a category. There's so many different types of abuse, and I feel like this falls into maybe 4 different buckets, you know? Trying to put it in a category, trying to make sense of it, and trying to do that when no one is willing to talk about it, when no one is willing to admit it. Trying to make sense of it when, again, these are things that happened 30 years ago, where a great deal of my preteen and teenage years, I spent that time trying to forget that these things happened. But then now, being in my 20s and 30s, and I'm just tormented with memories flooding back, and it's like, yo, what am I supposed to do with these memories? Like, what do you want me to do with that, right? And then realizing why every single behavior that you have points back to, because this is what happened to you, because that is how they responded to that neglect and that abuse. Because, like, it is a very difficult topic. It is very difficult, and I just know that I'm not alone. When I made those videos 6 years ago, I felt so alone, and you can see it in my language when I say most women don't deal with that, or when I say, what else did I say? I said, it's just in my language that I felt like I was the only person in the world who dealt with it. And I just know by now that I by far am not. And that is the reason, that's the only encouragement that I really have coming on here and talking about it, because prove me wrong, prove me right. I don't know, but share your story with me, because I just know I'm not the only one by far. But had I really continued to feel that way, no, this is not something that anyone can just come on the internet and talk about. It is not easy. It is not. It is something, there's like, it's hard to explain those types of emotions. That is a very difficult thing. And I really just wanted to add that 2-piece in, because I'm watching this back, I'm editing this, contemplating on if I want to put this up raw or not. I did a lot of crying before pressing play. I sat in a lot of silence. I sat in prayer. I sat in distraction, hoping I'll just distract myself from the urge or need to be obedient right now and post this. It is a hard watch. I'm gonna just tell you that now. I just see that it's important to pick back where I left off when it comes to being obedient to God. Whenever I reach a place where it's like, come on, God, speak to me. Why am I not hearing you? I'm always having to ask, well, when's the last time I heard God for sure? And that's one of those times. That's one of those times. I don't know God's purpose. I don't know the purpose of this. Trust me, I've asked. I've asked. Why, Lord, should I come out here and tell my business? But I think that it's because God wants to set me free. This may set someone else free. It may just do that too. But I really look at my life and how it can benefit me, and just speaking, just talking, I believe will give me a sense of freedom that I desire and that I have been bugging God about for so long. And the thing that I've been most fearful to do, the scariest thing, is, or may just be, the thing that gives me the freedom I've been bugging him about. So yeah, I don't mean to come on the people's internet boohooing, but this is just another video of me, I guess going a little deeper with my experience and how that affected my life thereafter. I'm definitely going to keep coming with more, because I just cannot wrap up everything that I went through and the effects of it all in 1 or 2 videos. I can't. So I hope by now you will subscribe to my channel. You can do a little like or something. Okay, shoot me a comment, because I would like to speak with you if you've experienced something similar. I am only speaking off of my experience and to the level of freedom that I have attained as of now. And so thank you again for pressing play. I'll let you, girl.
It's her time, her time. She's raising a child with her hands in the sky, packing lunch at dawn, still she never asks why.